Anyway, so thank you for coming here. We've wanted to put on an event at Global for a very long time, partly because we're quite passionate about technologists, but also partly because nobody knows who we are. So hands up if you know who Global are. Oh, well, there you go. That's an improvement on our last show, so that's good. I'm not going to preach to you tonight. I have got all my slides are silly. It's not like I've not done it in a way that it's kind of like a lesson or a teach. I basically want to tell you a little bit of a story of what we're doing at Global, and hopefully that's got some relevance to the things that you might be up to. If it isn't, then sorry. If it is, then you'd like to learn more, I'm here. There's a whole load of Globalers. We're easy to find. We've got our Global badges on, so come and say hello. A little bit about me. I'm Graham Cornell. I'm head of content technology at Global. That means something different to where most people think. So content for us is audio, or is in my world anyway. And I look after a variety of teams that do everything to do with recording and retransmitting my output. Thank you for the guys at the back. We do podcasting, audio on demand, audio streaming. We also do things like metadata, so getting the is that right? The thing on your Skybox, as well as RDS and all of the pictures that turn up on your radio. We also do everything to do with monetization of that stream. So it's ad tech stuff, which inserts adverts into those broadcasts that we do, but also onto Deezer and SoundCloud and a whole lot of other technologies across Northern Europe, USA, and Canada. I am actually naturally very passionate about music. I used to write a music blog, which won't tell you the URL because it's quite old and I haven't updated it for ages. I love traveling, like most people, and I've been doing delivery for a very long time. I'm not old because I'm wearing. I did a board presentation today and I wish I was wearing shorts, like Phil. Phil said that he was going to put jeans on. I said, I'll have his shorts if he does it, so he's left them on. I'd just like to tell you a little bit of a story about what we're doing at Global. So before I do that, I just want to tell you a little bit of a history of Global. If you think about radio, we've been a very advanced technology company since the 50s. If you think about what radio or wireless is, it's a remote audio distribution device that works just about everywhere and needs very low amount of technology to use, but it's electricity based. That's a good thing because what it's allowed Global to do is build lots of really cool things in a very ad hoc way. I'll talk a little bit about it later, but a lot of the people that work at Global do it because of the passion for radio. They're hobbyists. There's one of our audio engineers got a job because he has a radio station that broadcasts from his living room. The problem with that is that's a different sort of culture to the modern world we're in. And if you think about mobile devices, Sonos, Alexa, all these other sort of things, although they aren't necessarily a lot more complicated than radio, they are a different sort of complexity and needs a different sort of approach and how to fix that. Put that on top of the fact, we are now one of the Europe's largest out-of-home or outdoor operators. So all of those really hot screens that are breaking down on the tube today and making you warmer are ours, sorry. All of the wrappers on the London buses are ours, and then major screens outside, large events by the side of the road, again across Northern Europe and some other places are ours. That's really awesome because if you ask our founder what we are, he'll say a radio business that is funded by commercials. And if you ask our CFO, he'll say we're an aggressive advertising business that happens to own a radio station. So depending on which perspective you have on that, they are both important for us as our survival and how we work. And if you think about technology anyway, we're predominantly free funded, advertised funded, people funded if you think. But again, becoming a out-of-home operator when we have a building full of people that are used to building radio stations and having a direct connection to the BT tower over there is kind of a different mentality to solving problems, building technology, and growing. There's also the other disruptor, which is people have ideas everywhere. So we are no longer, as our engineering and our processes grow in the world, everyone has an idea, everyone has an opinion. Any one of you could set up a radio station tomorrow and it could be more popular than Capital. Any one of you tomorrow could start selling adverts. Any one of you could start your own digital agency. Any one of you could start interfacing with the technologies we interface with. All we have is our brands, our experience, and our people. So again, this is part of the reason why a transformation towards product-driven delivery has been really important for us, because as a purist engineering business, and I mean that as in wires and bits rather than software, it's a transition, it's a big change. The advantage Global has is it's 11 years old, and the radio business has changed an awful lot over the last 11 years and also beyond. We're a business that likes change and used to it, so that's an advantage. The reason so the last thing I was going to talk about, so this is where we are and where we're going to. So in the past, basically, we've thought we've known the problem and the solution, and then we've built on it a very kind of waterfallish, not very iterative approach. If you want to change the body of the Lego man, then you might decide you need to change legs, and there's a whole load of stuff building on it. Maybe a bad analogy, but I quite like the diagram. And then versus iteration, where you start off, we need to make something out of rubber, needs to make something out of rubber that floats in a bath, needs to make something that floats in a bath, but you can put a limb in it, then lots of limbs. We want to have some fun with the thing in the bath. So, or not, if you don't like rubber duckies. So anyway, so my point of that is, if you then tell a business that you're very good at engineering, you always know the solution, but actually the new world doesn't have that as an option, it's a transition. So I kind of got to my punchline, but just to reiterate, broadcast ops, digital first, content and commercial business. That's a big change. That's a very big change. So what I want to say before, and I actually overheard someone talking about it, so I'm glad I put this slide in. I am not saying that you can't have fully autonomous tech teams that can do their own thing. They are very useful, they're very successful. That's not what I'm here to tell you about. What I'm trying to say is, if you are in an environment where you are going on a journey, you need to take the whole business with you. There's a lot of nervousness about that change. It really helps if you have some sort of product capability in your organization to help you shape the journey, help the tech teams, work with the tech teams, work with the business, and so on. And that's basically the story I'm here to talk to you about. So hopefully this looks familiar. This is a traditional operating model, and one that is very much, or one that was very much at Global. You have technology on the left, who are given all the problems to solve, and it's a bit like a holy hand grenade. Here's a problem, go and solve it, we'll be back in a week. And this is the business going, why aren't you done yet? Why can't we have all the things in the world? Why don't you have enough capacity? Why can't we be the highest priority? And what I will say about Global, and I've been here a year, so I think I'm okay to do a little bit of reflection. It's actually really good here, and actually that model works very well. The other thing that's very odd about Global, or I've got a consulting background, so I've seen a lot of bad things. Technology is very highly trusted, almost to a fault. So that whole idea of technology, the guys over there are very clever, give them the problem, they'll do the best thing, we probably can't do better, has kind of built a culture that does kind of work, but it also has its problems. Again, as we're going into markets or doing things that even the technologists might not know how to do. What this model gives us problems about is budgets, prioritization, resourcing, value. There's always way too much demand in here. These guys aren't really very clear about how, or technologists, we don't know how to structure our budgets, how many people to hire, because we're not really sure what the business will do. The business surprises us. And the fire and forget model is actually quite stressful if you think about it. I put a thing at the bottom, business giving a problem and technology waiting for technology for a solution. So that's where we are. If you do follow that model, typically you get good or functional products, but they sometimes might not meet the mark, or they have unintended consequences. They could be reliability problems, they could be cost of operating problems, they might not do the right things, they might be insecure and fall into unscrupulous people's hands. Our owner, Global was entirely owned by a billionaire called Ashley Tabor. He listens. He must have 7 ears, because he listens to every single one of our radio stations constantly. And we get texts at 3 in the morning. Why did LBC just go offline for 10 seconds? And that's the sort of thing that we're trying to avoid. Another unintended consequence is sometimes you build a thing and you're missing a bit. Because you didn't know, because you're given a problem, but there's obviously the people asking for the things have a much broader understanding of what they're asking for and haven't always been so clear, or indeed didn't know. So when you built it, you're like, oh, do you know what, I need anything to go on that. So we put together a model like this, where we have a whole load of opportunities, and as our business grows, that's growing. We have a technology team, which are there and kind of ready and waiting. And then we have this, in the middle of the forest, this magic sword, which we're calling our product team. 12 months ago when I joined, I was asked to build a whole load of very crazy technologies at Global and a team to go around it. And the first thing I said I was going to hire was a product lead, and my boss turned around to me and said, "Are you nuts? We haven't got anywhere near enough developers. Why are you going after one of those?" And it's pretty much because that's fine to say you need 150,000 developers, but what are they going to build? And all those kind of some high-level strategic ideas, most of those are very complicated. I can't tell you about what they are for a variety of reasons, but if you think about anything to do with ad tech and all the complexities around that, including forecasting, campaign management, data management, how you do real-time bidding and all that sort of stuff, it's very, very easy to go, can we have one of those please? It's very hard to go and then tell an army of people, go and build it. So that's what we did. We had a bit of headwind on that one, but I'm pleased to say that it's working well. It's very hard to do this when the stakes are high and the investment in this is high and the business is very aware of its problems, but it's the route we took, which is part of our story. So what we've done is we put product in the middle of the business and the technology, and I should emphasize they are not a block, they are not an island. They are, if I should draw on this better, it would be a big kind of blurry line across the middle. So they're here to bring clarity, they're here to bring cross collaboration. Our product teams are side by our technology leads. We make sure our technologists solve the problems, but our product people can define the problems. And then similarly with the business, it's not to put a wedge between technology, it's a kind of happy conduit. So our business sits with our technology teams, and especially with our more complex problems, we wouldn't get half as far as we did without doing stuff like that. What was I going to say? Yeah, so the some of the things that our product team do. So product visioning, I mean that's slightly obvious. Roadmaps, I kind of overuse that term here. I think a few people at Global get a bit annoyed that I keep talking about it. But kind of just know where you're going, and a business that defines itself and is proud of the fact it doesn't have a corporate strategy, it doesn't have a corporate-y culture, it doesn't over-fascinate too much about strategy. Asking them to tell you what they'd like to do in a year's time is a bit difficult, but obviously necessary, especially when you find out that, or a business like all of our products always influence one another. So if I was to change something with the way that our podcasts work, our commercial team would want to know why that's not affecting our monetization system, and our digital team would want to know why their app doesn't work anymore. So you kind of get the idea of why our roadmaps are quite important. They help with design, that we have UX people under our product teams. They help with delivery. Delivery and product for us goes hand in hand. Again, it's important for us because the product people we have generally have got a delivery background and experience in delivery. They don't do delivery management, but they are obviously very important in delivery. They help with prioritization. Again, something we're not being very used to at the past, but is very important in terms of Global's growth. Help with innovation, think outside the box, design-led thinking, workshops, whiteboarding. These might all seem very obvious, but for a business that's going through change, that's not always very, very easy. Having a meeting room with a whiteboard on was a problem before we bought a new office down the road, so that's good. And just continuous improvement. To stop using pictograms, these are real people. So I thought I'd give us an example of some of the guys we've got in our teams and talk a little bit about their role. So Jamie over the side here, he's one of our first product leads. Why do we have a product lead, and what does product leader mean at Global? Well, I'll come on to it a little bit, but product lead for us, because our products are so cross, they all influence one another, our product teams need context. So we like to give product owners the challenge of a product, but they can't work in isolation. So we have someone who's worrying a little bit more about the breadth. That leads on to Anna. So she's product owner in one of our in our digital platforms team. She's looking after a variety of things to do with our audio streaming platforms. We then have a concept of business analyst. So the reason I wanted to call these ones out is when we've gone to market to hire people, the interchangeability of these words, and then if you ask a product person, what they do and how they work, it's usually very, very, very different. If I came from Deloitte and told you what they do at Deloitte, they only have those, and what they say is they are product owners, and then they say the client needs one of those, but they have never had one of those, and they don't talk about product management. If you go and read, if you go and look up on most books, it might be along that lines, but the point is it's very interchangeable. It doesn't really matter what you call the people, it's what they're doing that counts. So they're cross-functional, product owner. Our business analysts generally support the product owners. So they might work on many products, but they are aligned to a technology or a part of the business that they know a lot about. So if a product owner is, if you think of a product owner could work on any technology problem, they'll need to be supported based on someone who has got some context on the problem that they're solving. Kirsty, our product UX UI designer, kind of does what she says on tin, and product management, which is wholly new at Global, although not to hopefully most of you guys. How do we get someone at the business to care about what we're building? I'll give them 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to go pretty quick. So again, really, really very important because that whole fire and forget methodology or context doesn't work if you don't have someone who cares about it. If we didn't build it and we decided to change our mind in technology and build something else, who's going to go, where's my product? So that's what we did with Alex. Skills, I thought it'd be cool, even though I'm not very cool. So feature-specific, specification and solution design, user experience, you get the idea, problem solving, communication, business analyst. Agile delivery, that's an interesting one because I should do a show of hands. How? Let me come to that one in a minute because I'm running out of time, but also I've got a slide on it. Very quickly, Agile delivery. Does anyone of you think that your organisation's got Agile perfectly nailed? No hands? Good. Apart from the consultant in front, that's good. Our digital team have turned around to us, and actually all of our technology teams should have done so, thank you for digital, and said that they think that half the people in their digital team don't know what Agile methodology is, and they've just assumed it because they've got it on their CV. So it's actually quite an important thing to think about how you coach people on an Agile journey. We just assume people know how it works. I'm going to be very quick. To answer the man's question, that's how we split it all across. So what we now do is, rather than the business, the technology bit and the business bit, we split into product teams. We have our software engineers. They will typically have a tech lead that's very closely aligned with the product owner. So you have a solution being built over here, the problem being defined over there. Product owner, every product has a manager, without saying. We then have an engineering lead to bring commonality across our products, and a product lead to keep context across our products. And then the other stuff around the sides. Actually, I can stick on that one because I've only got one more slide. So I don't need to rush now. So, so hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, really what we're trying to do is break down the problem, but do it in a way that everyone across the business is working together. If the product manager's got a thing that they want to solve, but they don't know how feasible it is, they can involve the engineers in it. The product owner can act as a facilitator. They can help them explore the things that are right and the things that are wrong, things we need to do now, things we don't need to do later. We have had projects at Global where we've got very busy with doing all of the fancy UI stuff, and there are large bits of the fundamental product missing, but the fundamental product's boring and difficult, and no one's driving the product. So we'll make it look shiny, even though we've probably only done a third of the work. The product owner stops that happening because they're asking those difficult questions. The product manager cares about the context. Does that answer your question, or would you like me to answer a different one?
Can you give me an example of your domain? What is a product?
What's a product? Good question. It varies. So we have one product, which I'm not going to tell you any of the detail about, but it's a product of products. So for it to work, we have 3 Scrum teams all building a different bit of it. One might be some logic, one might be some user interface, one might be some sort of an audio streaming component. They have to be run on different product streams because they're very complex and they require a large amount of engineering resource on it. The product is actually a sum of them all. Separately, we'll have products which are individual things. So a product I can talk about is a product we have called Media Manager. Media Manager, if you like, if digital drive all of our web apps, and we then have commercial teams that do all of our finance stuff, Media Manager sits in the middle and looks after all of our content. So it's one of the products that I look after, and that basically stores audio. That's a single product. It's very easy to define. It has one team working on it. It has one product manager on it now. It had lots, and that for us is a product. We're a little bit loose with it because these concepts are very familiar to a few of us and very foreign to a lot. So all we're trying to get the business to think about is if you were to tangibly ask for a thing, how are you going to fund it? How are you going to put someone to help us to build it? And how are we going to shape and resource it? And then also, if we put it on a roadmap, is it more important than that 999 other things you asked us for? So that's our definition of product. Back to rubber chickens, because it's fun on a hot Thursday. Again, this is, you guys will all know this, hopefully. It's part of the messaging that we brought with how we're approaching products, splitting it down into daily stand-ups and features, multi-features, part of the weekly refinements, fortnightly releases, and then monthly things. And then the important thing is the team autonomy. So we'll allow teams to go nuts over here, but we have a longer term planning. We need to do that at Global because they're not ready for the full go off and have a product and let's evolve environment. Maybe we'll get there one day, but with these journeys you can overcook it at the beginning. The last slide's about all of the things that we get as benefits out of it. So shared sense of ownership and direction, which might go without saying, but it's very important. Structured investment, a set of cohesive products. We should budget as products, and then, as you all know, a product continually exists till it's sold, replaced, or maybe global goes bust or something like that. We don't. We still fund in yearly projects, so that can be awkward when you're making a lot of success with a product, and then all of a sudden you realise you spent your project budget. So, a bit of a journey to go on there, but it's something that we're improving now. We can get road mapping and things like that. Similarly with alignment on business goals and autonomous, the business starting to realise they've asked us to do too much, so they're now having to think about the alignment of things that matter to them, usually revenue driven, but not always. Agile and autonomous, big journey at Global about how we not enforce Agile methods, but how we teach people why we use Agile, what it does, why, although it might seem very sensible to make a change request in the middle of a sprint, it really should wait to the next sprint at least, if not a little bit longer. And if you don't do that, then you're going to screw the whole thing up and you get angry teams and they all want to leave and you don't get very much throughput. Regular engagement with business stakeholders, they get more confidence to leave you alone if you tell them you're doing good things and moving really quickly. So if anyone came to my last talk, lots of that. Utilisation of skills and experience, which is about growth at Global. So we've got a lot of very clever technology people here who haven't been exposed to Agile methods and all of the things that I've talked about today. As we grow those skills and people around that helps us. That leads us to be more scalable, and then a single point of accountability with the business. So it's not all technology's fault if we don't deliver.
Time for two questions.
Two questions. I'll do the chap at the back, and then that one.
So I'm curious, you created an interface between delivery and the business who have fundamentally a separation between demand and supply. So traditional role of business analyst, you cut that out, product function, and you call that product, and you've given these people product names, and yet on the right-hand side, when you describe your business function, 50% of those people have the term product in their job title. So what is the difference between the product people on the right and those that you've separated out into the middle? And what is the reporting relationship and accountability between those two columns?
So if anyone, did everyone hear that? So basically, at Global, we've given business and technology both product names, and how does that relationship work? And then how does the reporting lines work?
Yeah, and the responsibility.
And responsibility, yeah. Very good question. Not entirely right how we're doing it, but again, think about the journey. So our product managers report to the business, predominantly our commercial teams, but sorry, let me take a step back. There's sometimes a natural separation in businesses between marketing, business, and technology. I don't know why, but everywhere I go seems to have a similar thing. Global's quite bad at that. So we've got a business that is very, 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 very heavily and aggressively sales-based. Really, really, really focused on numbers. And we have a technology team that almost work like the Republic of Technology. but get stuff done. And our technology breadth goes literally from making sure transmitters are working through to the Macs are working through to our AWS servers. So it's quite a difficult bridge to bridge. The reason we gave them the same titles was partly because we did some research and these terms came up an awful lot. And secondly, we didn't want these guys to think that they worked for two different organizations, even though they kind of do. The product managers and the guys within the commercial area are trying to now build out people who start thinking more about strategic ideas. The product owners who are technically work in technology, the guys who are probably more aligned with technology but are trying to be some sort of place in the middle. We don't really have a structure at Global that accommodates for where people work within the business. But what we're trying to do is create an environment where there isn't. These guys are supposed to be neutral, so kind of Switzerland, working for both and helping with both. There's no one in the business who's a trained product manager, so the product owners are coaching these guys. But at the same time, they're worrying about the delivery of our engineering practices. It's working very, very well. It's working very well at the moment. It needs to grow and iterate, but we've been doing this for 6 months probably. And then from that, we're going to move on to kind of a different stage. That might mean a different way we're organised.
Yeah, Phil's question was, what's it like the product lead and product manager?
So the product lead is these guys are reporting into him or her.
And what does the product lead? Part of the business or part of the engineering?
He technically works in technology because I work in technology and I came up with the idea.
Okay.
But again, so transformation, sometimes you'll be a bit dynamic about it. How we structure. This is a funny business at Global. Our operating lines are very flat as a business hierarchy, and they change quite frequently because we buy and sell things quite quickly. So we owned a whole load of festivals for 12 months. Now we've not got those anymore. Technology is quite a stable environment, and noticing the need and being a delivery person that happens to be in technology, it's much more convenient for me to build that world there. Might not stay there, might not be the right thing to do, but right now, 6 months in, it works.
My question was just about if you guys use Scrum, do you have Scrum Masters? What they set?
We don't have Scrum Masters, and that's a conscious choice at the moment. We get the product owners to be the Scrum Masters.
Oh. Schizophrenic.
Anti-pattern.
Yeah, schizophrenic.
Maybe. I can understand why there's a reaction like that in the crowd. So we again, well, we do when we don't. So we have quite a close partnership between our tech leads and our product owners, and again that works very well. It's not something that we, like I said, if you think about this as an organisation that we've set up in the last 6 months and we are rapidly trying to recruit, we don't necessarily have the choice or freedom to do what we'd like as a target operating model. So I'm being honest about the journey we're on as think about it as a technology or digital transformation project. We are massively recruiting. Part of the reason why I do things like that, although I'm not allowed to talk about recruiting. But we've got 135 people working in technology. Till recently, we've struggled with that recruitment, which is why we're trying to get people to understand that Global isn't about a dying radio brand. But yeah, you're right. It's schizophrenic and it's not right. You've basically got a contention with the people driving the requirements. Yeah. Well, I think you can ask some of the engineers because the head of engineers in the back and some of the other guys there. So if they think I'm an idiot, they're wearing blue passes at the back and they can be honest about it. But I do realise I'm not following the book, but. If I threw any of you into an environment which yesterday literally tinkered under the desk, and that was then a product which was running Capital Radio's RDS platform, and that was a production system, and now we're trying to take them on a journey, I can't draw a consulting diagram and say that's it, and we're going to go that way because I'll get laughed out of the building. So we're on a journey. This is working very well, though, is the thing I would talk about, and it might not be purist, but it very much works, and sometime mid next year maybe I can come back and talk about the project that it really worked well on that I'm not allowed to talk about. So